John F. Kennedy Space Center, probably the most famous of all the sites man has ever used for the launch of space vehicles. How has the coming of the space program affected the region? What does it mean to those who live and work here? Ask this man, perhaps. Or this woman. Ask these high school students. This newspaper reporter. Or almost anyone else you choose. Their answers, of course, will be different. But if you take their replies and put them together, an exciting story of rapid growth and remarkable progress will unfold. After World War II, the United States undertook a broad program of research and development in the field of rocketry. The military, including the Air Force, the Navy, and the Army, began launching rockets from a narrow spit of land on the central east coast of Florida, an area then known as Cape Canaveral. This section of the Florida coast was then sparsely settled, devoted to such seasonal industry as the raising of citrus. The best of these bountiful harvests have invariably been labeled under a name derived from the wide Indian River, a slow-moving north-south waterway, paralleling the Atlantic for a distance of more than 100 miles. And flowing along the west side of the launch area. The initial activities centered around Patrick Air Force Base. An impact first felt around 1955. That was about when long-range missiles dominated much of the work at the nearby launch area, later to be known as the Air Force Eastern Test Range. The early rockets were the prelude to the real space age. That period began in earnest on January 31st, 1958, with the launch of Explorer 1, America's first satellite. Heading the Army firing team which launched the first U.S. satellite was Dr. Kurt H. Debus. He could not have dreamed when these films were taken that he would someday become director of the new Space Center, which later was built just across the river from this launch area. In the year of that Explorer launch, Congress established the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, and the most remarkable growth of the East Central Florida region began. Subsequently to be named the John F. Kennedy Space Center, the NASA operations in Florida had immediate positive impact upon the state, particularly the 8 counties which make up the East Central region, about 1/5 of Florida. Brevard, the county in which the Space Center is situated, underwent a population increase of 371% during the decade from 1950 to 1960. The space program brought more than a population boom. It brought to the area a special kind of people, technically trained in knowledge and skills required by the space program. Such a population increase in so brief a period made necessary what seemed like overnight expansion of all public utilities, including large water purifying and pumping stations. Gas companies, too, were hard-pressed to keep pace. The power companies built entire new generating plants to serve the 12 communities closest to the spaceport. Just the task of getting to and from work made it necessary to design and build a completely new system of highways, high-speed freeways to replace the narrow roads which once were sufficient. Where these new roads crossed the rivers, tall four-lane bridges were needed as a further step in speeding the increasing volume of traffic. By 1963, an 8-county area around the Space Center had achieved retail sales totaling more than $1.1 billion annually. From 1962 to 1963, there was an increase of 11%. To supply the needs of a rapidly expanding population, new stores were built. Home building flourished. As quickly as land could be cleared and the fill soil had settled, the construction crews went to work. New subdivisions appeared rapidly, providing a wide variety of styles and sizes of homes, many with waterfront locations. A number of these were in the luxury class, as might be expected in a region where, by 1960, as many as 30% of the wage earners were making upwards of $10,000 a year. More than half of Brevard County space workers ultimately bought their own homes. From 1958, when NASA was born, to 1968, the number of homes in Brevard County increased from 23,000 to about 67,000. In other words, by 1968, there were nearly 3 times as many homes existing in Brevard County as were there prior to the establishment of NASA. Such dynamic growth strained even the recreational facilities to the limit. Miles of beaches became crowded. Beach fans, swimmers, surfers were everywhere. All these leisure time activities caused their own inevitable changes in the area all about the spaceport. As the space impact continued, more than just the recreational areas were expanded. One by one, the libraries of the spaceport enlarged their facilities. Many communities, in fact, opened branch libraries to augment the main ones. Entire new libraries were built as the population of Brevard County more than tripled in the dramatic period of 1958 to 1968. The dynamic world of space sets up an enormous appetite for new fields of learning. Brevard County, which in 1957 had no college at all, had two such institutions 3 years later. One of these, Brevard Junior College, opened in the autumn of 1960, only months after it was authorized. Its first campus, an abandoned elementary school, hastily refitted to accommodate the spaceport area students who wanted and needed a good local institution of higher learning. A year later, there were 23 full-time faculty members at the junior college. As the new permanent campus neared completion in 1963, Brevard Junior College's faculty numbered 56. By 1968, the college comprised 10 permanent buildings housing laboratories, classrooms, the library, and all the other facilities necessary to offer diverse courses of study for a student body of 7,000. Then, too, there was a faculty of 152 full-time instructors recruited from all across the nation and occasionally from foreign countries as well. Florida Institute of Technology, begun in 1958 as an engineering college, also enjoyed rapid growth. Graduate courses, offered by means of extension classes, brought advanced degree programs within easy driving distance of the Space Center. The same growth occurred in the other schools throughout the region. In 1958, there were but 18 schools, 437 classrooms in Brevard County. 10 years later, 62 schools with more than 1,500 classrooms were filled to near capacity, as 60,000 students made necessary a continuing program of school construction. But even this accelerated program made necessary frequent use of temporary portable classrooms at countless schools. Few other areas of the nation could match the exciting growth and change which could be found all around Spaceport, USA. A prime example of this exists along Cocoa Beach, just south of the Space Center. Land values rose as construction activities increased. Large new banks opened in order to meet the unprecedented economic change which had come over the area. Many were newly organized, often with local capital. Soon, whatever banking service the space area resident wanted was available not far from home. Modern restaurants were appearing, catering to just about all tastes, no matter how exotic. New office structures seemed to be springing up everywhere. Where once there were tangled palmetto thickets, there soon were new motels. Some 181 motels had been built in Brevard County alone by 1968. In East Central Florida, it seemed, life was better. A great deal more exciting when the space age touched the Brevard County region. In the early 1960s, not long after NASA was created, the Space Agency began the acquisition of 88,000 acres of land, just west of the original launch sites of Cape Kennedy. Its purchase was to prove a further boon to the region. Huge quantities of fill soil were painstakingly pumped onto vast sections of the low-lying terrain, comparatively little of which had previously been developed. Soon, the framework of the launch area for NASA's immense lunar rockets was being shaped. The impact could be felt as far away as Daytona Beach to the north. It reached into Orlando to the west. The impact carried as far south as Vero Beach, thus including cities 50 or more miles from the Kennedy Space Center. With the coming of the two-man Gemini, the spacecraft, which was to be the prelude to the later three-man Apollo, more personnel than ever were required. Like the Mercury missions before them, the Gemini launches attracted large numbers of outsiders to the space region. Many of them traveled long distances to be on hand to watch the man shots from vantage points near the Space Center. With these visitors also came the press, radio and television personnel, many of them. As a result of such public interest, NASA, through its John F. Kennedy Space Center, added still another dimension to its impact for good. Educational exhibits and a visitors' information center were established, and public tours of the spaceport were provided. The establishment of the John F. Kennedy Space Center, a major launch site for America's most important space missions, helped change the face of the land for hundreds of miles. It created whole new communities, and it brought prosperity and new industries, some of them long-established firms which set up aerospace-related facilities near the Space Center. Some of them young organizations, but partners nonetheless in the exciting era of space. The once limited hospital facilities throughout the region underwent great expansion. Entire new hospitals came into being, as well as groups of modern medical offices and specialized clinics and health centers to meet all needs. New municipal buildings appeared. The few airports which existed in the region in the 1950s found that by the 1960s, they had become important stopping points for executive aircraft and commercial jets, for which the airport authorities added new equipment and the larger runways necessary, particularly for the larger commercial craft. Passenger traffic at the three airports closest to Kennedy Space Center increased almost daily. To replace an outgrown airport in Orlando, a large section of McCoy Air Force Base was set apart for use as a new commercial jet port, which soon was served by most major airlines. The impact of the space program brought also a host of mass communications media to serve the people who in turn had come to serve the spaceport. As they did so, they joined the mainstream of community life to lend a hand in making the area a suitable place in which to worship, to live, and to develop a sense of really belonging. Whenever the call is out to help others, residents of the region give freely of their time and money. The serious business of exploring distant reaches in space has never caused the people involved in the program to forget their less fortunate neighbors. And though many of them labored long hours preparing rockets and spacecraft for launch, the excitement of the future has never caused them to turn their backs on the pleasures they would have enjoyed before the space age was born. In spite of the changes which have taken place, the region has never lost its identity. The citrus trees of the Indian River area still blossom, bear crops, are a rich part of the economy. The remarkable variety of wildlife still abounds, much of it preserved in a game refuge within the gates of the Space Center. The fishermen set out from Port Canaveral each morning, just as they did in the days before the astronauts came. Here is a community which brings together the past and the future, a place in which its people and the John F. Kennedy Space Center work together to make tomorrow just as exciting as was our first decade in space.